I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is a sad clown.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3Omaha packs, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
I'm excited this morning. We got a guy who's been in F3 almost since the beginning. Some would probably consider him one of our redwoods. But he's also been a leader of the Maze and a leader of several IPC challenges, and this past year is helping accelerate our fitness with the Apex. So we've got our man HardHat here, and a lot of you know him. I think I just saw a picture of some pretty fancy winter gear out on Twitter there, but HardHat, welcome, and if you don't mind, give us the background. When did you officially start, and where's the name HardHat come from?
All right, so it was August of 2018. It's not quite the beginning, and as Gator told me a few weeks ago, he called me an orange wood, so almost a redwood. Yeah, so my neighborhood used to, on Friday evenings, a lot of us would get together and hang out and kind of party a little bit. And one of my neighbors, Thunderhead, had been trying to EH a bunch of guys to come out to the workout. And there were probably 2 or 3 times that I had told him I would do it. And then the night got away from us, and we didn't end up posting that morning. So we finally made it happen. I think it was August 25th. He got me out to the Oracle, and it was No Doses VQ. And the workout was brutal. We ran a ton, and a guy that wasn't even leading the workout, I thought was trying to kill me with American hammers at the end. Because I swear we did 80, but the back blast says we only did 50. And that was a boom boom. And so, yeah, we crazy workout. It was tough. And there were 2 F&Gs, me and the one we all know as Waffle House. And I believe he got named first. And I was confused as to what was going on. I think a lot of guys were confused how he got the name Waffle House. And I wasn't so sure about the group at the time. So I was wearing a Kiewit shirt, even though I didn't work for Kiewit anymore. And so I told guys, I teach construction, I work construction, I like to build things. And that was pretty much all I shared. And so I got the name HardHat. And I thought it was kind of funny afterwards. I didn't really like the name, but I did realize I do kind of have a HardHat collection. So maybe it is a little fitting.
Well, that's awesome, man. I believe that Nodos would put on a tough beatdown, but I also know you to be in pretty good shape. So for you to say that, it must have been pretty brutal. I guess where were you at kind of in your fitness journey at that point? Were you super fit stud that we know today, or not so much?
not so much. I think I was in decent shape, but I wouldn't really, I wasn't much of a gym goer. I would run periodically. I was the kind of guy, I always needed some event on the calendar to work towards. And so in the past, that had been like a half marathon or a Tough Mudder, or different events like that. And I hadn't done any of those for a while. And so I was just, kind of hanging on with running occasionally, but not a whole lot. I never really enjoyed running a ton until somewhat a little more recently in F3. Yeah. So it was definitely the workout that got me there. In fact, Thunderhead never really told me a whole lot else about the group before we got there. So I was a little caught off guard, I would say, and it did feel I was really hesitant to buy into everything. But we grabbed coffee after that first workout, and I was surprised at the conversations that we were having at coffee. Like somebody asked one guy about his kids' ages, and the ages didn't quite add up, and he explained that one of his kids was adopted. And next thing I know, a couple of guys were talking about being adopted and that, and it just, you know, for these guys that didn't know each other very well, opening up about things like that over coffee after a workout, you know, it really surprised me. And so Saturdays at the Oracle were kind of my go-to for a while, because back then we didn't have workouts every day. So that was what made sense for me. And then the maze, because that was really close to home.
But as you think about that, because I agree, I think that was one of the first things I noticed was just there's something different here. The conversations and you know, the willingness to go deep without necessarily knowing a guy, right? What as time has gone on, do you feel like that's continued as we brought new guys in, or has the growth been, you know, detrimental to some of that, or how have you seen us shift or adapt so that we can still have those good quality conversations?
I think the quality conversations are still there. I think everything that's happened with our group has been great as far as the growth goes. And you get to talking with some of these guys that had been around in the early days before we even had a workout every day of the week. And I mean, for most of us, we miss a lot of that. I miss the plague coming out to the maze because it was the only Thursday spot. And, you know, I don't think Folsom has been to the maze since F3Omaha launched. And now, you know, that might not even be a regular spot on Thursdays. And so it is weird, you know, all these guys that you used to see several times a day or several days of the week, every week. Now you know, go weeks without seeing them. And so it's different, but I think, you know, there's a little bit of selfishness, wanting things to kind of go back to the way they were a little bit, but there's been a lot of great stuff that's come out of the growth and expansion. And I think it's really good to have an open mind for that. I mean, some of my best friends in F3 now are guys that I met in the last year. They weren't, you know, posting 3 years ago. So, and a lot, like we all know, there's a lot of guys that need F3 needs them. And, you know, if we just tried to keep it a small, tight-knit group, it's not going to be like that. So they're not going to be able to share their experiences and help keep this thing special.
You focused a lot on the first staff, and I think I've enjoyed many pre-runs with you, and you certainly give me a run for my money these days. But you know, you have done an excellent job just accelerating your fitness, and I think even helping other guys. What is it about some of the challenges, like the IPC, like that's something that you really have engaged with, but also like help develop other leadership opportunities. Same thing with Apex. What do you think that hook is for you that makes those kind of fitness challenge type things so beneficial, or what do you enjoy about those?
So when I try to think about what it is, why I am drawn to those things, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about F3 as a whole is that it's not easy. You know, the workouts aren't easy most of the time. They're not anyway. And so that challenge, you know, there's a lot of times you'll hear it in a COT that we just did the hardest thing you're going to do all day. And you know, for most days that is true for a lot of us. And I came from an industry where every day I was dealing with a ton of stress and like difficult conversations, difficult choices, lots of problem solving. And about a year before I started F3, I switched careers and got out of that. And you know, my change of pace was nice. It was kind of what I was looking for, but I was still missing that urge to challenge myself. And so the workouts became a little bit of a challenge. And then as I kept posting more and getting in better shape, they became easier. And so I wanted, you know, to continue finding challenges, and Iron Packs was definitely, it was definitely a challenge that really pushed my limits. The apex being, I don't know if I would say the apex is necessarily challenging. It is when you set goals and you're trying to break those goals. So you can make it as easy as you want it to be. And same thing with Iron Packs, but you know, you got to have that mentality that you're gonna push yourself and try to get the best time or score you can.
I would say that Iron Packs is probably challenging when you're wearing a boot, right? For those that don't know, HardHat actually participated, I think, 2 years ago in a walking boot. And I happened to be there on one of those occasions, and he was flying through burpees, and he beat me that day with a walking boot on. So, yeah, I bet it was challenging. Maybe you can talk a little bit for the guys that haven't done the Iron Packs, like, what is it that, I mean, you said it kind of drew you the challenge or whatever, but how would you encourage guys to actually participate in that? You know, F3 is somewhat of a non-competing, right? We're not supposed to be competing with each other. And the Iron Packs brings in this dynamic of competition. You know, everyone wants to see where they stack up in the region. How do you balance that, that non-competitive side with the competitive side?
That's really hard because there's a lot of guys that are turned off by Iron Packs because of the competition. And the first year that we started participating in Iron Packs, I remember having conversations on pre-runs with guys that refused to do an Iron Packs workout. And so those conversations have led me to be careful in how I talk about Iron Packs. I don't want, even though it naturally is a competitive event, I mean, that's somewhat of how it was intended when it was first, you know, dreamed up. But I really try to avoid the conversation about it being competition, and I try to avoid conversations comparing guys' times and scores. Sometimes, you know, if you're asked the question, you fall into answering the question, and you know, it's a little bit of a trap. But I'll sometimes ignore that, and then, you know, just promoting it as far as announcing to guys that, you know, if you can do a double Murph and you thought that was really hard, you know, try the Iron Packs out. I think you'll be surprised at how challenging it is, but at the end of it, it's super rewarding to have that sense of accomplishment. And then you suffered through it with all these other guys as well. The last Iron Packs workout this year was so brutal, but I think it was a really good one to wrap up the month of Iron Packs, because everyone worked out for the same amount of time. So it was a reps-based workout. And so it didn't matter how fast you were going through the whole thing. Everybody was pushing themselves the entire time.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, right? Because the fellowship that, at least I feel like I experienced during Iron Packs, was a little bit different because it was so hard. I mean, it was like you had nothing left in the tank, but then you still had guys going to pick up the 6. And I feel like part of their intent or the, mission of Iron Packs is really to create that common struggle for guys to work through. And I really do believe, during that time, it was like, I remember sitting around, like we just sat on our coupons in the middle of the field for Name Rama for one of them I was at. And it was kind of like, we couldn't stand, we were like, and it was just like, I don't know, it just is a unique feeling. I don't know that most beatdowns are that way. I know Pony and Ponzi led a beatdown this last week that I went to, and I was hesitant because I thought it was going to be one of those, low calorie, too much fun, not enough working out. But they actually got me over 500 calories burned. So I felt like, but so much of it is how you push yourself. And I like your comment about developing goals so that you can challenge yourself there. What's been, as you've seen other guys come through Apex and even Iron Packs, what, as a leader, what are some things that we could be doing to encourage each other to develop those goals kind of in the you versus you mentality? Have you found any helpful strategies there?
That's a good question. I think everybody handles the goals a little bit different and sometimes needs motivated in different ways. So like for me, every once in a while, someone will ask me if I've beat my best time at something on the Apex, and like just being asked about it, it's almost like they're challenging me to step it up and beat that time this next go around. And there's, that's really hard. I've done the Apex a lot now, and there's a lot of days where I'm not feeling it. So, or I might feel like I can do really well in one event, but I'm not gonna, go all out on another, because even if I did, I don't think I'd be able to do it. So yeah, I think for a lot of guys, especially with the Apex, we haven't had too many guys do it multiple times. So I try, when I send everyone their stats, to give them some encouragement that the next time you do it, I think is better, because then you can compare your baseline stats to the second round and see some improvement. I don't know if I've told anyone this yet, but no one that's done it multiple times has broken all of their, their own records the second go around. So there's always room for improvement in all of the different things.
I love that.
Well, that's so interesting. Sorry, and we try and highlight leadership here, and I'm just really curious on how the thought of Apex came to you. And it's a really interesting concept, and I haven't done it myself yet, but definitely can see where you would want to create some goals for yourself and use it as a metric to kind of measure where you've been and where you're going. So how did that come to you?
It came to me from a text from Plague. He sent me Memphis's fitness test. I think he was trying to distract me from trying to secretly launch another AO that might have interfered with plans for some other AOs that were going to launch. So he sends me this Coriolis fitness test that Memphis was doing and asked if what my thoughts were on it. When I first read through what Memphis was doing, I told him I didn't think it was a good idea. It just seemed too competitive, that I felt like they're really, the thing about Iron Packs, you don't know until that Sunday before the week what the workout's going to be. And this fitness test, it's the same every month. We don't change it up. So it's kind of like a Murph, what to expect. But anyway, after telling him I thought it was a bad idea, I think we had a conversation on a pre-run. I talked with Tater Tot a little bit about it, and just started thinking about it some more, how we could implement it. And it was also a tool just to give us something different other than, the typical beat downs, that maybe could spark another leadership opportunity for another PAX. And so I could go get this thing launched and then maybe help get someone transitioned into leading it. Cause that was kind of where I was at with everything. I was done being a site Q. I was kind of still craving that a little bit though, and looking for something to help continue to lead. And so I was wanting to launch a site and then maybe find a new site Q for it quick and transition it over, because I felt like that might be something fun to do, to go launch a site versus take one over. So yeah, that was kind of where I was at when that whole thing started.
I remember that. I don't know if you made me sound kind of manipulative there. I don't know if that, I remember that conversation. And I think what's really hard is as we've grown over the last, year or three, I guess, is you never really know when and where, right, is the right time to launch a site or in what area. And what I will say is, we haven't had a site fail per se, right? We've only really had one Thursday evening site that we shut down, but we tend to get enough guys that are engaged and interested and ready to support a site that may appear to be struggling. And honestly, what I think I hear more often is guys enjoy the smaller workouts, right? The workouts where there aren't 50 guys there, because you actually get to talk to people. So I think we've learned from that over time that hey, there's probably less magic to the location and the timing, right? It's really just, do we have the right guy to lead and the right PAX to support? So I think this next spring, a little teaser here, maybe I'll be looking to you, HardHat, to help move us out further into the Western hemisphere there, because we definitely need some expansion in Elkhorn. But I don't know if I can share too much of that here. But I do want to just pause, because I think what you said there was really key, as far as how do you lead guys to develop goals and achieve those goals. And I think it's just asking them and being transparent with your goals and being the type of leader that has goals, right? I mean, I think that's the first step, is really that self-awareness of where you're trying to go. And I've seen you do that also with Queen's service, and you're not one of those guys that most people would associate with, like, trying to lose a bunch of weight, or and so I think you've engaged on that front, just even in like a maintenance, like, hey, I still want to have a goal around this. And it's been a lot of fun for me to watch. I think that's just kind of some self accountability here, that I need to probably be more engaged in some of those things. It's been 3 years of trying to out king my Queen, and it doesn't work. But talk to me a little bit about, because there's a lot of fellowship that happens in those things, right? IPC, Apex, Queen service. How has that grown for you over the last few years? You mentioned having some closer friends now, but how have you seen yourself develop in the second half?
Yeah. So yeah, there are several guys that have similar goals and similar attitudes towards Iron PAX and these different challenges. And you start to find for me, I've found those guys through Iron PAX challenges, seeing a lot of the same faces every week at these different workouts. And so having conversations after those workouts, starting to do more pre-runs together, has definitely grown the fellowship. And I've listened to all your episodes, and there's there's sometimes a lot of talk about shield lock and so on. And I always refrain from diving completely into all of the freed to lead and the Q source and everything. I mean, there's a lot that I love about all of it, but I still would hold back a little bit. And shield lock was one of those things that I always kind of held back on trying to find guys for a shield lock. And through pre-runs and Iron Packs challenges and so on, I, would start to identify these guys that I've got some similarities to, whether it's goal setting or like parenting styles or, whatever it might be. And I could go to these guys if I was struggling in a certain area, kind of knew who I wanted to have a conversation with. In fact, there's been times where I might be dealing with something at home that's just weighing heavy on me. And like, there's just a couple of guys that I want to talk with about it. And so I try to think, all right, where's he going to be? Or I might text him and see if he's up for a pre-run this day, or, and so that's always been nice. And I've kind of got a little bit more of a formal shield lock now, even though I think we just text mostly. We don't really meet up a whole lot for it, but it's nice being able to have some extra accountability. And I think that's one of the things that kind of kept me going in this group was, getting to a point where if you get a little bit of a reputation for posting most days or posting at the same spots, and then you're not there and somebody reaches out and asks how things are going, that just having that little reminder definitely helps bring things back.
I like that because I think the shield lock is a thing that we a lot of times struggle to formalize, but at least identifying the guys that you could talk to, I think that's what it's all about, right? And there's some mixed feelings about like calling it out, right? It feels almost like dating, which is kind of a weird, like for guys we're like, what is that? But I do like that because you got to have some guys that you can go to when you don't know what to do or you just need some feedback on life. And I appreciate you sharing that. I think one of the questions that I would be curious as time has gone on, and you mentioned a transition to a new job role kind of right before. How do you think, like, has F3 helped you grow as a leader from your perspective? I mean, I think there are certainly things that I see and that others see in you as you've developed over time, but how do you think F3 has helped kind of guide your leadership, whether it's at home or work or within F3?
Oh man, it's it's definitely helped grow in my leadership at work. I mean, I teach, and so some days I'm planning out lab activities like I plan a workout, and like splitting into groups and how am I going to do this. I've actually done this thing with some of my classes. I don't do it with all of them, but I'll call it weekly wisdom. We meet once a week, and I'll like randomly draw names in the class in advance so they know they can prepare. And I try to get my students to share something inspiring or some new knowledge that they've gained at work, or a tip, trick, or hack, something that they can share with the class to help boost their confidence in speaking with the group, and then also to let the students know that this person was really inspired by this thing recently, and it kind of helps them open up a little bit more so students see some of their connections and how maybe they're going through some similar things. So we don't go like super deep COT level stuff, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from students that really enjoy doing those things, talking about that stuff. They learn new things, and so yeah, it's really opened my mind to how I can approach classes. As far as like home life and everything, I struggle like most guys to balance keeping my wife happy and go to these workouts and still get everything done that I need to get done around the house. And so yeah, I think part of my wife loves that I do F3 and part of her hates it as well. So I'm still trying to figure out a good balance there. But I love having the energy to be able to play with my kids as much as they want to, as often as they want to. And like I play a ton of soccer with my kids, and there's no way I could ever keep up with them playing soccer had I not, been an F3. So yeah, those are all some of the great aspects of it. That, I don't get into talking about third F a whole lot in COTs and so on. And F3s, I used to somewhat regularly go to church, and my family, we kind of gotten away from it a little bit, but getting into F3 and getting the reminders on an almost daily basis of like being vulnerable, opening up, hearing other people's struggles, like just thinking and being concerned about others. Live third a little bit more. It's motivated me to get into church a little more frequently, get my kids into church a little more often. And so those are all benefits of it. Some of the different things. I was bummed that we missed Operation Others this weekend. I think we definitely did it last year. And I think we might have done it the year before also. And like, I didn't even know about those things before that. And so been kind of itching for my kids to grow up a little bit so I can take them to go do some more volunteer type stuff, but also want to enjoy them while I can.
Those are all great things that, I've seen in my own life too. And I know Brandon or Plague has seen in his life too. F3 kind of provides this platform where it just gives all these tax opportunities, right, that maybe they didn't know they were missing out on. And, those are some of the ones that you've seen in your life personally. I guess, what is it about a F3 that you think offers to men in the community that some other types of groups may not offer, or they're just not going to get it out there on their own?
Well, I think the great, so, I mean, if anybody's looking for opportunities to go out and serve, they can find them. I think the great thing about F3 as a platform for serving others is we are free to lead. And so if somebody's got an idea of something they want to go do, they can go round up some guys to go help them out with it. I feel like you wouldn't get that kind of support in other places, or it wouldn't be as easy to round up the support. And so I think back to when Thor organized that house painting thing. I didn't participate in it, but I thought that was awesome that, he wanted to go do this thing. He started talking about it in announcements, and next thing you know, he's got a crew scheduled to go do this thing. And we see it with the blood drives now and all these canned food drives, and can't even keep up with all the third F activities now. There's so many of them going on.
You mentioned Faith. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that is, just being around guys, they tend to influence, what you're thinking about, and definitely helps to think about other people. But as you think about this next year, right, and maybe at some point handing off the Apex or trying to expand that to get more guys engaged, just thinking through, some guys might be afraid of Apex the same way they are of like the Murph or IPC, but what would you say to a guy who's maybe on the fence or hasn't come out, or what would be your encouragement or motivation to get them to try some of those more challenging things?
I mean, I would want to find out if I knew of somebody that didn't want to do, that was avoiding it because, you know, they just thought it was going to be tough. I would want to find out what about it sounds tough, like which component, or like whatever their reason is. I would encourage them to go talk to other guys that have done it as well. I think there's several guys that have completed Apex that maybe aren't regular Murphers, guys that if you go talk with them, you maybe wouldn't assume that they would be someone that's completed the Apex. And so ask them their perception on how the event was. From most guys that I hear, they really enjoy it. Being able to set that baseline to see where you're at. It truly is you versus you. And I think it's great because you might feel like you're a fairly well-rounded person on a fitness level, and it does help you identify some weaknesses. It also helps you identify some of your strengths. And so I know where I'm at on certain events in the Apex, and, you know, regardless of what anybody else thinks, I know that I'm never going to get the burpee record in the Apex, and I'm fine with that. I don't need to have the burpee record. I know the max number that I've hit so far, and if I can get that or pretty dang close to it, I'm going to be happy with that. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to surpass it because I can only burpee so fast. So, you know, I think guys have to recognize that, that it is not a competition. It's a competition of you against yourself. You want to try to be better than you were the day before. So
I can appreciate that, and I feel a little bit more encouraged to probably try the Apex now. So maybe in January I'll come join you and test my limits and see where I wind up.
awesome.
Probably better than Brandon. Well, you know, HardHat, you've been with F3 for quite a period of time. You know, you've gone through many seasons and have seen the growth, and you can see that we're continuing to grow, and we really don't have any plans on stopping. I guess any words of encouragement or anything that you would like the PAX to keep in mind as we continue to grow and welcome in new PAX members?
I would say just keep EHing, guys. There are so many people, so many guys in your life that could use F3, and F3 needs them. So don't hold back on EHing. I think there is some technique to it. So hopefully you're kind of figuring that out, or you're picking it up from listening to these podcasts on some techniques that work. I would say for the guys, you know, keep looking for opportunities to lead, whether that's getting yourself on the queue schedule for the next workout, or maybe you're at a point where you want to step up and lead some more as like a site queue. I think there's a lot of site queues that might be looking for a successor in the near future. And so maybe have conversations with them about what that looks like. And I just, like every year around this time, I feel like pretty soon we're going to start talking expansion, because you know, March hits and all of a sudden you got this influx of guys coming out, guys coming back that maybe had taken the winter off, and so I'm excited to see how F3 Omaha continues to grow. I think it's great, all of these other things that we keep doing. And for the guys that are site queues, or maybe recently finished being site queues, it saddens me a little bit to see guys kind of fade away from it, but I can see somewhat why they're doing that. You know, because it's almost like you've reached this point where, you know, if you compare it to like a corporate ladder, you kind of climb most of the way up and there's nowhere else to go. So I think stick with the group, because there's a lot of other opportunities out there to continue to lead and share your skills and experience. And I don't know, like most guys, I need the COTs. Those are one of my favorite things, you know, just getting those reminders. Not everyone rings home, but a lot of them do. And sometimes it's just what I need to hear to start the day.
Fantastic. I do know of some things behind the scenes, so we do have some plans for creating more leadership opportunities this next year, and it's exciting because we've got a lot of guys that have been site Qs, are kind of waiting, you know, for what's that next step, and I'll tell you from my perspective, we're probably even looking for, you know, treating like the gloom like an AO, right? Maybe someday Pony and I will hand this off to some new, you know, gloom site Qs, but definitely I think you know, we're also trying to do some things where we can share with guys what is that pathway to get their ideas brought forward, because sometimes that's confusing. So trying to just help provide some clarity there as we move into this next year. So we've got some big things coming up, but with that, anything else you would share? Just anything to get off your chest, or things that we maybe didn't get a chance to talk about?
I think that's pretty good. We covered a lot of good stuff.
All right, and well, thank you very much for joining us today. I'll take us out on a Namerama. I'm John Whitworth, 30, Pony Express.
Pony Express.
Hey, Brandon Flehardy, 35, The Plague.
The Plague.
Josh
Steele, 34, HardHat.
HardHat. Nice
Hard
job.
hat.
Hey, actually,
Thanks,
I'm 36 now. I got to remember that. But thanks for your time, HardHat. I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
See ya.